some people just off aesthetics alone.
Yeah,
Before we even get to
man.
gameplay, they're like, "Yo, what do you like?" I'm like, I rather play Breath of the Wild than play something that looks like a real person is running through. Why?
Exactly.
Because that's just what I like. Maybe
That's just me.
I'm old. I grew up
I'm
with
telling
Mario.
you,
And
yo.
I don't know, but I come across games that look so real that I'm like, this is fire.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. I mean, a prime example of that to me is, have you seen the John Wukong?
I watched a little bit of gameplay of it.
Right.
It looks really good.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I remember back when they were just giving us clips of them working, the development team just working.
I'm late.
on it.
I never even heard it.
Yeah,
until,
a word.
last week.
Nah, this joint been on for I think the last couple of years. Like they would just show bits and pieces of it. And I think the first piece I saw of it was Wukong turning into like a cicada or something to like fly past enemies like undetected. And I'm like, yo, this game looks amazing, like stunning. But even now, with the game already being out and all the videos I've seen so far, I want to let it breathe a little bit.
Right.
Because, the hype is always there, and it's about the visuals. So it's like, let me wait and see if the gameplay is as good as people are claiming it to be, or is it just, all right, we spent all these years developing this beautiful game, and that's really it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The joint came out when? A week ago? Am I gonna be on YouTube tomorrow saying, "Yeah, I just beat Wukong"? I don't know, because remember, we're used to Breath of the Wild,
Right.
as in a new style, one of the later games. And how many hours you put in that joint, even after you beat it?
I have something to say about that game now.
What's up?
If anybody hears this recording, Philip has put 5,000 million billion hours
Yeah,
into
boy.
the first, Breath of the Wild, the standard.
It was standard.
Now, you didn't beat the second game, Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. I just finally beat it. I said I need to stop prolonging this and beat it. Yeah.
So I feel bad because I got all the way to Ganon. And that's when there were like 6 of them.
Yeah.
And they were doing that move that sucks your life.
That sucks your life.
And I didn't
yeah.
know I needed like the Sunday Lion or
Yeah,
whatever. And I need to mix it in food so that doesn't suck or whatever. However,
However you make
was there
it.
something like that?
Yeah, something
Am
like
I
that.
lying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
So you never, you didn't finish it.
I did not. The story was incredible. But I will say something about that game though.
Yeah.
At gunpoint, if someone asks, the obvious, well, what's the better game? Right? What's the better game?
Yep.
I'm gonna say Breath of the Wild.
I'm gonna agree with you.
And because now Breath of the Wild has, and I'm glad because I know you're like a master in that game. That game has limitations as far as like the graphical prowess of the second game.
Right.
Is much stronger.
Yep.
They made the first game for the Wii U.
Right.
They probably had to port it up
Exactly.
to the Switch when it came out and all of that. It looks like the second. You know what that game to me is? The Tears of the Kingdom is like Japanese mode. It's like hard mode.
Yeah. That's exactly
It just seems like it's hard mode. It's like the same kind of game,
it's
but
the
it's
same.
like,
Yeah.
it's hard mode. They added new story. They added two more tiers of land, one in the sky, one on the ground. It's like, they used to put out games in America, or not even put games out in America. It was too hard. Like in that Neo Geo cabinet that I bought,
Right.
there's one game that in the Art of Fighting, they left out Art of Fighting 2. It's like the hardest game ever.
Yep. It's
And
Mario
It's
2.
it's like broken.
Right.
Like if you try to play, you might not pass the first fighter.
Right.
So they put the Art of Fighting 1 and Art of Fighting 3. Why? Because it's just really Japanese.
It's just that's
and they be wilding. So
Yeah.
when I watch I'm thinking about the story. I'm like, the backstory is incredible on the second one.
Yeah.
Something about that first one that was just like, it was the first of its kind.
The first of its kind, hit every check box. It hit check boxes that we didn't even know we wanted.
Right.
You see what I'm
You
saying?
can't even grade the second one without the first one.
You can't grade the second one without the first.
So
You know what I mean? And you already know, right? Like I already told you, like when I first played the Breath of the Wild. So you know me, bro. Since
You're the only person I knew who was. You're the only black man
The only-
that was playing Legend of Zelda. Anything,
bro. Since
I ain't know no black
the
people
rip,
playing Legend of Zelda in 1993 or whatever the hell year it was.
from the rip, yo. So each iteration, right, of the game, was quote unquote the same. We knew what to expect when it came to Legend of Zelda, right? I knew I was gonna go into the dungeon. I knew I had to find the item, the key item. I know I had to find the boss key. I know I had to find the big lock to unlock that and fight him. I knew at some point I had to collect some number of treasures before I reached the final arc of fighting Ganon, right? And I was cool with that. I think every Zelda fan was okay with that. I don't think there was any Zelda fan asking for anything different, right? Because the formula worked, the way that they did it, each take was always fresh. They always introduced something new, even if it was the same villages, right? Kakariko Village and the Gorons up in the mountain and the Zora in the water. If the same elements that made the game, they could do it 1,000 different times, and each time it seemed just different. When Breath of the Wild first dropped, I played it. It was completely new. I hated it. I said, bro, this is not Zelda.
That's hilarious.
This is crazy work. Like, I can't play this. I put the joint down. I think I put maybe an hour into it. When I found out after I came down from the Temple of Awakening and I had to go into the mountains where it was cold and I was dying because of the cold, I said, nah, this is too much. I said, I can't get with this.
This is before you met the king, right?
This is before, yeah.
I quit in the same space.
Yes.
And you know what? It wasn't because of the cold. Mm-hmm. I quit because I felt like if this is just the beginning, it's open world. I felt like this is too big for me.
This is too big. This is too big. I can't think of every single... Bro, how many scenarios are out there in this world that I have to be thoughtful or mindful of just to walk around the corner? Like, I can't even walk from one season to the next without dying. Right. This is mad.
Too hot, too cold.
It's too hot. It's too cold. I'll drown. I got stamina. I can't even climb a wall without falling after a while. I said, nah, this is not it, yo. So I remember I put that joint down for like, how long did I put that joint down? It was, if it wasn't a year, it was close to a year.
I did about 9-10 months.
Yeah.
And I thought it was trash. My sister-in-law's boyfriend, I said, I got a game, I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah,
but I played it before I gave it to him. And then I was like, all right, this is fire.
And that was, I was bored one day and I was like, you know what? Let me just pick this up again. I remember that night, that day, I came home from work. I was mad, boy. I had nothing. I mean, this is before I'm married, no kids, nothing, right? Come to the crib, hard day at work. I'm like, man, let me just take my mind off of something. I got nothing in here. Let me put this Breath of the Wild back in. Put that joint on. Remember that I would die going into the snow part. Finally made it in there, found out how to do it. And then just started to really play around with the mechanics and start to like form different meals and things like that. And I said, this game blew my mind. I think from that point on, I didn't put that game down for the next until Tears of the Kingdom came out.
Yeah, you got a lot of hours on that.
I got a lot. A lot of hours on that joint. Yo, definitely one of my favorite games of all time. Breath of the Wild for sure is always going to be better. As dope as Tears of the Kingdom was, like you said, the addition of the two different tiers, one of I think the best mechanics, which was the fusion of the weapons to make your own weapons.
Right.
I thought that was genius because in Breath of the Wild, what would you need a stick for, right? Like you're coming out of the Cave of Awakening, for low-level enemies, a stick was all you had. So understandable. As you progress in the game, the stick is irrelevant, right? So it's like, unless you needed it for a torch. But how many times do you even really need a torch, right? You can do things where you can throw...
craft a stick apple...
You know what I'm saying?
Weapon or whatever.
Right. So all those things I thought was genius to incorporate into Tears of the Kingdom. But again, without Breath of the Wild, you wouldn't have had that.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So that's always going to be the standard.
The one thing I think that was a great addition, and let me know if I'm wrong, this didn't exist in the first one, is that while you were holding your arrow, when you can choose an item to attach to an arrow.
Right.
That didn't exist in the first one, did it?
That didn't.
So now you can do like heat seeking
Yes.
with the eyeballs.
Oh, yes.
Did that not exist in the first one?
That did not exist.
That was really good addition.
That was incredible how they incorporated that. And here's the thing about that. It confused me because in Breath of the Wild, you had 5 different kinds of arrows. You had your standard arrow, you had your electric arrow, your fire arrow, your ice arrow, and then your ancient arrow, right? Tears of the Kingdom brought that down to 2 kinds of arrows. You have a regular arrow and an ancient arrow. Actually, no, it brought it down to 1. That's it. You had 1 arrow, right? A standard arrow. Based on that arrow, you can turn it into pretty much. You got to play around with it and see what you need.
I think that sometimes when I was playing the first one, I was just like getting through the story sometimes, and I was just like I wasn't really aware of my like inventory, and I think the fact that you can marry so many different things to your arrows, I was like, I know how many more electric bubbles or whatever I have, or whatever however many ice mushrooms or whatever, like you kind of maybe took more account of those things because you were using them so often,
absolutely,
or whatever for whatever reason,
absolutely. To your point, right? I can have, so you got 3 different fire items, right? You have the little red jelly, right? You have
right.
What are those things? I don't even know if you had fire fruit I don't think you had fire fruit in Breath of the Wild, but whatever that may be, whatever that fire item may be, right? But I forgot about the bomb arrows. So it's probably like 6 different arrows in the Breath of the Wild. But either way, like to your point, yeah, you have all these items in your inventory that you would only use for really cooking. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're either gonna make a heat potion from the red jelly, or
a cool down
potion, or electric potion, something to help you, with your stats. But outside of that, if I didn't need it, I had 26 hearts, bro. I'll take the hit.
Yeah, I didn't get that far.
You know what I mean? But at that point,
sure.
At that point, you're like, what do I need it for? I'll survive more than taking the time to restore 5 hearts out of my 26. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, it was kind of irrelevant in Breath of the Wild. And that's what I do love about Tears of the Kingdom, because if I didn't want to use it for a potion, I'll attach it to an arrow when I didn't want to use a fire fruit. Or let's say I ran out of fire fruits, but I got the red jellies. I'll attach that to my arrow, and I got another fire arrow. So I thought that was dope to really help us to use everything in the game. I think that's really what they probably focused on, or what was their focus when it came to making Tears of the Kingdom. So I give Tears of the Kingdom that. And overall, it's still a fun game. But I don't know, man. I think everything that made Breath of the Wild what it is, aside from it being just new and fresh, I love the fact that they already knew that this was just the beginning. You didn't fight Ganon in that game. You fought a form of Ganon.
Right.
But everything...
The Calamity.
The Calamity.
Yeah.
They called it the Calamity, right? So you were just fighting forms of the Calamity, which were pieces of Ganon. And so I think that's what had us wanting more. Because in the end, I was like, yo, where's Ganon at? I guess they got rid of him, his story. But man, everything that they did, just from the champions, you know what I mean, that would help you. You can count, their power would help you, and just everything, how they put it together, man. That joint was just fire. Like, I'm probably gonna play Breath of the Wild from the jump
again.
I think I'm gonna do it all. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do both of them over again.
I wish that they would. It's not gonna happen. Or maybe there's been an update. I should look it up to see if they not change the game, just kind of did a software update so it could graphically be as strong as Tears of the Kingdom, since it has the same elements in it, just less stuff in it.
True.
Like, because my eyeballs can actually tell how much better Tears of the Kingdom
really
look. Oh, what? It's
Okay.
it's a stronger, like, it works like this game's being played off of a USB stick, and this game's being ran off of a solid state hard drive.
Damn.
That's how it
like
feel,
that.
like it just feels like it's a strong, like it's like
Wow.
like it feels like they refined that game over how many years?
Yeah, it's been
It was
a
the
long
refined.
time. It was literally the
version.
refined. Yeah,
like
yeah.
how many years? Like
Wow. Yeah.
it's been over. I mean, that game came out.
That came out in what? I'm talking 20. Is it 2013? Was it?
Got to be something
Something
way
like
back.
that. Way back there. I remember it was back there. Yeah, and then Tears of the Kingdom came out what? Some 9, 10 years later. Ooh. Yeah, so that makes sense. It makes sense. But I mean, again, nothing against it. I love it. As a matter of fact, I wish that there was a way that they could make a third part of the story without it seeming forced. I can't see unless it's someone who isn't Ganon.
The game dev said, "We are done."
Yeah, he sure did. They sure did.
He said, "We gave you all we could." He says, "There is no DLC.
Nope.
It costs $10 more than the other game costs. Everything is in it."
Yeah.
I was like, "It sure was $70."
It sure was. Yeah. Yeah.
That might be the most expensive Switch game.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
Like fresh out, well, not resale, but like fresh out of.
Fresh out of the pack. Yeah.
Yeah.
70. Yeah. I've never seen a Switch game that much, that expensive. But he wasn't lying. You get everything. You got everything. You know what? No, I got a suggestion for him. Because the DLC in Breath of the Wild, which I think everyone loved, were the Trials. The Trials of the Sword.
I bought the DLC and felt like I'm like, so is it just the Trials or is there more story?
Or is there more to it? And you know what's crazy? I didn't even care about the story. My thing was, if you were to beat all 3 levels, you get the fully powered Master Sword.
I didn't get it.
Okay, you didn't get it.
I did not.
Nah, I got that. It took me a minute. It took me a minute to do it. But I got it. So your Master Sword is on 60, glowing constant.
The whole time.
The whole time. To me, yo, that's the Master Sword. That's the Master Sword. Like, I appreciate how you're using the sword, and when Ganon enemies come around, or Calamity enemies come around, that's when it awakens. It comes on 60. That's dope. But to me, and I feel like a lot of Zelda players who are used to playing Zelda, when you had your little sword in the beginning, that was your little sword. When you went into the Sacred Forest and found the Master Sword, it was a clear upgrade. And that was it. The Master Sword was at full power. You know what I mean? And the only difference was, well, no, it's still the same. Even in this game, as long as you have full health, you can throw out your beam of the sword. But when it came to Breath of the Wild, I like how they did that with the tears, or I guess when it awakens. But I feel like the Master Sword should have had an opportunity in the Tears of the Kingdom to be at full power, 100%. Especially being a story about the Master Sword getting broken and you going on this quest for its revival. Matter of fact, the whole story was the Master Sword, and the spirit of it.
Yeah.
Wanting to go back in time to heal itself so that Link could have that opportunity to kill Ganon in the future. So I felt like it should have already been at, matter of fact, and they should have raised it from 60 to like one of the most powerful weapons of the game, like 100. Like make it like 100.
The thing that I liked about the Tears of the Kingdom was because I've never played a Zelda game all the way through until Breath of the Wild. So I know that there's these deep lore of like, oh, if you play Skyward Sword, or if you play this one, this is this Ganon from this timeline.
Right.
This is this,
right.
Link from
That's
this.
right.
So people go, I watch videos, people go off on tangents about the lore. To me, the first installment of this, duo, this game, is that Breath of the Wild it's like the super introduction.
Yes.
It's like, hey, Imagine if you've never heard this story before, ever in your life.
Exactly.
And to me, the second game is The Legend
That's
of Zelda.
very true.
This like
Very
why
good
like
point. Yeah.
she's like showing up, and people they're like, oh, I think I just saw the princess.
I just saw.
Oh, I think I just, and it's like, okay, so she's in the dragon. So the dragon spears is her. She lost her form. That I'm at the end, but not. I didn't finish.
Right.
But I got far enough to find out, like, oh, that was her. Like,
Yeah.
that's her, right? Isn't it something like that? Like,
Yep.
she lost her human
She
form.
lost her human
or
form.
her,
She's the light dragon.
And I was like, so this is like the Legend of Zelda. This is like literally like V story.
That's a good point, yo. And I wonder. I haven't read or seen any interviews, but I wonder if that was kind of the premise, right? Because in Breath of the Wild, her whole arc was kind of complaining about how she felt irrelevant, right? She was supposed to be the princess who had this latent power like all the other champions did, who were supposed to defeat Calamity. That was her whole purpose, and she felt like she couldn't reach it because she didn't show enough of the bravery or the skill that everyone else had. And so fast forward, her legend, right? Going, like you said, going back in time, that's her creating her legend. She was the most useful. She was a sage, wasn't she? I think she was considered one of the sages.
Oh, I just thought about something. Mm-hmm. They did do a third story. No one bought it. Well, we didn't. You don't have it.
Word.
It was the prequel.
Bro, you're absolutely right.
It was like a Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
Hyrule Warriors, right?
No, because there's already a game called Hyrule Warriors, but it's a warrior style game.
It's
You're fighting many people.
You're fighting many. Yeah.
There's a
You're right.
prequel story to the Calamity when all of the I'm gonna call them vestiges. Go for it, my hero. When all of the companions of the princess, when they were alive. Do you remember that game? Do you remember that? It was all of them.
That's not the one with the war style fighting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that joint. Yeah. Okay.
The Hyrule Warriors is a different game.
That's a different game
too.
from that. Okay, right. But no, I do remember that, and you're right. I never played it, and the only reason why I didn't play is because the hype or the reception wasn't that good, supposedly.
Age of Calamity.
Age of Calamity?
Okay, Hyrule. It is called Hyrule Warriors, but they had another game called Hyrule Warriors anyway. So Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
Age of Calamity. Okay.
They had a different. Okay. They had a different game called Hyrule Warriors where Link had the green outfit still.
Okay.
From another system. I could be wrong.
Yes, I do remember that one. Yeah, that was Hyrule Warriors. That was, I think, that was around Twilight Princess, I think.
This is the prequel. This is like a.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's right.
They low-key kind of gave like 3 portions of story.
That's very true.
I don't know how in-depth this story goes or if they just wanted to like milk the franchise for doing so well when Breath of the Wild came out.
I think that's what that was.
It was a money grab.
I think it was a money grab. A lot of people, because I remember looking at the reviews, and a lot of people said, nah, this is more like it's like when you hit one button and everybody does what you want to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's what those Warriors games
kind
of do. They even have a Persona 5 game that's like that.
Really?
They're like, but it's like after Persona 5, and it's like, kind of.
Yeah.
It tells a story afterwards. You guys just want to, come out with as many games on that IP as you could.
As you can,
to make money, which is fine, but don't ask us to say it's good or whatever.
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't buy it, but I just thought like maybe that's the third tier.
Nah, you're right, yo. Look at that. It was completely forgettable, yo. I didn't remember that at all, and I don't even know how much it was really worth it because supposedly that, like you said, is the precursor to the Calamity, but isn't that the story we got all throughout Breath of the Wild? Like we kind of
Breath of the Wild, yeah, you got little glimpses of
it. You got little glimpses.
This one is just like it's 100 years ago,
right? The whole 100
maybe
years.
The war that
the mural with all that. Yeah, that's what you're living in this game, right? Okay. Which I guess, if you want to complete the story, that's fine.
Right.
I say a better idea probably would have been to create a game on its own featuring the 100-year, that prior war.
Yeah.
And then coming out with Breath of the Wild in its current state, new kind of gameplay, knowing, man, I gotta build myself up. I remember what happened to me. He killed me at the end of the last game, and now we're waking up. Oh, this is what Hyrule is now? Like, I remember this building used to be here. That joint is not there. You know what I mean? So I think that would have been dope. Or just create a whole nother game in general. But I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's what it is, man.